Hey, it's us. It's Taking It Down on Video, the companion video podcast to Taking It Down, I suppose. We talk TV, we talk streaming. That's usually about it. I don't know. We might go broader with Taking It Down on Video. If you have heard the audio from this week, episode 189, we talked a little bit about Shogun on FX/Hulu. And you can go listen to that. Any podcast app, wherever you stream audio podcast. Here, YouTube pretty much only. Hey, with me today, we got old pal. It's Razz. What's going on?
I don't know. You tell me.
Let's talk some TV.
Okay.
The reason we came up with this idea is, we're old.
We're old.
That's it. We're old, and shit's changed. So, everything's streaming. What do you like that at all?
It has its pros and cons, I think. But it's so funny to think about being old. We're nearly half of 100, and that's close enough to old, I think.
It's close.
We've certainly seen things change. My daughter Tilly, she has no idea about commercials and things like that. Even though I feel like commercials are having a comeback right now.
Yeah, well, I think my daughter, she's just a little younger than yours. She knows about commercials just because they pop up on YouTube. She knows she has to wait through a commercial before she can watch whatever's on YouTube, and that's similar, I guess.
But, the old school TV, commercials were really the content, and then they would pop a show in between commercials. It almost felt like.
Well, going way back when I was a kid, that's when you went to piss, or that's when you went to get the snack. And if you missed whatever happened next, you missed it.
Yeah.
You didn't see it.
That was the thing we've tried to tell Tilly, is that, for us, like, television was a strategy. Like, you had to plan the week out, and you actually had to read a book called The TV Guide to figure out what was coming on and when it was coming on, and then if they blew it, if they actually threw something on there that wasn't in the TV Guide, or they got off of their broadcast in some way, shape, or fashion, I mean, your whole week was ruined.
Yeah, you could catch it in the summer in a rerun, but you're usually busy in the summer because it's reruns. You don't think to watch. Yeah, man, that is so different. And I can remember trying to squeeze in a bath during a commercial break for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer because I was so eager to watch the whole episode. But it's not like that. Now you can pay. I mean, even when we were in college, you could pause the show on satellite or whatever and rewind it, record it, DVR it. What about, do you subscribe to all the streaming?
We subscribe to maybe, I think, 3 services, sometimes 4, and it's depending on what's on the streaming platform. We may cancel one and pick up another one. We do that sort of thing.
Really? You do the jump on, jump off of the train?
Yeah, just depending on the finances for that month and all that.
Out there living in your shanty with
yes.
So I think we subscribe to nearly all of them. There's not very many I don't have. Just for the podcast mainly, but I mean, I always end up watching at least a little bit of one here and there. Do you even have satellite or cable anymore?
We just got rid of it. We had cable for a little while just because we got our internet service, and we had to have the AT&T Uburst package, and then we kept it for a long time, and finally got rid of that. So, but really, like, watching shows these days for me is a luxury. Like, I seldom get to sit down and really binge shows, and if I do, it's kind of it's a pleasure.
You've got the flu. You're sick at home. Yeah. Uh, do you like binging shows? Do you like just back one after another, just chain smoking them?
I do, but what tends to happen more these days, and this is why I love streaming, I guess, is because it kind of fits into, my current season of life, is I end up, having to spread out like one episode or one movie
Hmm.
over 4 or 5 different viewings. And so I have to sit down and almost like watch part one, part two, part three. That's how it happens in my life.
Watch to the first act. Is it finished of episode one? Yeah, no, I
I
get that.
actually get up, and this is kind of my guilty pleasure is waking up about 4:30 in the morning to let the dog out, and then I sit up and watch what I want to watch because otherwise, other people in my house just kind of control that whole viewing situation.
I've done that before where I've gotten up way too early or by accident, and I just end up watching a show. What's streaming at your house? Since you're not in control of the remote, what are they watching?
Ah, The Crown.
Okay, you're not a fan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
I found myself kind of watching bits and pieces of that. It was pretty good. And then Bluey, which I
Oh yeah.
actually quite enjoy episodes of Bluey.
Episodes of Bluey are good. Yeah, there's
I
nothing
try
wrong with
to
Bluey.
I try to influence some of the things that Tilly watches. I push the Star Wars in there, and lately Spider-Man
Yeah.
and Harry Potter. So I get some of that in there just by influencing. But
Yeah, it won't be long, and maybe I can start doing a little of that.
I found that that's kind of another big change in television, or just I can remember that my parents controlled everything that we watched,
Mm-hmm.
and now it seems like the kids are controlling what's on the TV, or
Mm-hmm.
at least that they have the biggest control over what's on at people's houses.
That's
Where
so true.
I can never remember like having control of the remote control if my dad was in the room or
Uh-uh.
something.
Sometimes my mom would relinquish control, but my dad, if he walked in the room, you knew to hand the remote to him.
Yeah.
Is that the way it was with you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly what we did. And I haven't picked up the remote and put it on something I'm just scared it's going to be vulgar and offensive is why.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I guess
Well,
that's
and that's another change, I think, from the old school TV. It was highly censored, and with streaming services, it's certainly not. And whenever I'm up and kind of watching something, I tend to kind of have my finger on the pause button because some of the shows that I have are very inappropriate parts. And
Yeah, going way back, how many channels did you get living in town? We got 3, I think. PBS, CBS was reliable, and NBC. We didn't get ABC wasn't that reliable. And I'm talking little kid age.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you were lucky to get 3 or 4 channels off of antenna, just
Right.
depending on how good your antenna was.
The Earl.
Yeah.
My grandparents called it the Earl, which is not a word.
Yeah, I thought I was going to see my dad fall to his death many a day. He's up there trying to make adjustments on that little. It was like a 6-inch wide wire case that went up to the top of the antenna, and you'd be 40 feet up in the air trying to make adjustments on it.
I'll tell you something. My dad was pretty good about jumping into the newest TV. He really wanted the newest stuff on TV, and he bought a huge satellite one year. The big white one out in the backyard, and the motor went out on it. And my brother made me go out there in the snow to crank it, and I had to crank the actual satellite to put it in the right position for something he wanted to watch. I don't remember, but probably a boxing match or an NBA game. But man, that times have changed about how you watch TV. And I'm not so sure that TV hasn't gone to the phone. really. All my students in high school tend to watch either Netflix or YouTube, and that's almost it. They don't really go venture and find the best show on HBO or whatever. Not as much.
I agree with that. The other thing that I've noticed is that Tilly and some of the, sometimes whenever niece and nephew are over, like they don't necessarily have to watch, a season of something where they follow a season through a story arc. I have found that she really doesn't care about that. She could just watch one particular episode of the season, and she's quite fine with that, and don't care to kind of follow it through. Where, that's a big part of what I want to see is the kind of the full story arc.
Yeah, I've had
one of the worst beatings I ever got in my life was from my mother, and it was over TV because we had to go and do something, and I knew that I was going to have to get up and leave in the middle of a show I was watching. And I knew if I left, it's like, I'm never going to get to see this again. I'm just going to have to watch the recap next week and see how it ends. And I picked such a fit. And she beat the death out of me. And so, yeah, I mean, it meant it meant a lot. And you knew that, hey, if I miss this, I'll have to wait until they start playing reruns, which might be next year.
Yeah. And then, did you get to the point where you mastered the VCR? You could program it and it would record?
Oh, yeah, I was the only person in my house that could use it.
Same. Yep. I had to record things for my dad and mom. Yep. It was tricky. Shit. It required steps. You'd punch this thing in and then that and then this number and get the date correct. That's funny stuff.
With most things, though, a lot of the technology came late to my house, and I'm still that way. I don't do social media, and I was the last person in the world to get a cell phone. Last person to get an iPhone. I've really kind of, even though I use it every day in my work life, but just I've really kind of dragged my feet with technology. I still listen to albums, and that was the other thing. Kind of we lived through the change, of music, where with in the 2000s, whenever Apple came out with the iPod. That really changed in iTunes and buying one song at a time instead of buying a whole album or a collection of songs. That changed music. And I think the streaming is kind of, has an impact to TV in kind of that same way.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember Nathan Pitts showing me his iPod, that white one. And I was like, what's the point of this? I just was baffled. Why would you want this instead of this cassette tape I'm holding, this CD I'm holding at the time? Yeah. Yeah, man, things have changed a lot. We've seen a lot of change that is exponential and it's changed too. Let's wrap here. How about next time you and I talk about the influence of Twin Peaks?
Oh, that sounds fun.
Because while we were talking, I was just thinking about how, if you missed it, you were done for. And then 1991, 92, 93, Twin Peaks, that was the one where I had to be home as a 13-year-old kid or however old I was. Let's do that, and we'll bid adieu to everyone. And, yeah, taking it down on video next Wednesday. See y'all.
Later.